I don't know. It's no problem.
Look.
Nothing
No, it says
secret here.
live now. Now it says live.
Yes, now we are live. Hello, everyone. Hello. And welcome to the episode 11 of Let's Talk About It. And today we will talk about generally hijab, but most importantly, what's happening in Iran in the last 18 days. A lot of protests is in Iran, both women and men doing this against Islamic regime.
Yeah.
After one 22 years old young girl died after arrested by so-called morality police. So it's things happening right now. Many courageous young girls and men protesting, but they are meeting with violence from state. And until now, I believe more than 100 people died under these protests, and many hundreds get arrested. And Jale, you are from Iran originally, right?
Yeah.
And let's begin.
Yeah.
What's happened actually, and this we have to focus on hijab because especially because many people don't do that, and they just say protest against regime, like a protest against a communist regime. No,
Yeah.
protest is about freedom.
Yeah.
Think we are living in 2022, soon in 23, and because of this girl,
Mahsa Amini. Gina
Mahsa
Mahsa.
Amini, had a hijab on herself, but not a properly way, right?
Yeah.
This is the reason police arrested her. I will show a video later how they are arresting women on street who are not wearing hijab properly. I don't know what's mean properly, but this is the like woman's hair is so dangerous for these mullahs. And why? This also we have to talk about. And because in the West we are hearing a lot of times that hijab is like almost the symbol of feminism. It became because even the Vogue magazine and in media they are promoting, but they are not talking about the mandatory hijab. And mandatory hijab is not only in Iran, not under regime. It is here. Hundreds of thousands of women have mandatory hijab at home in the West, right? And these two we have to talk. But let's go back to the Iran. And your thoughts and what's happened. What do you think?
Yeah. I think that, first of all, I want to also say that even if you say that in the Western countries, even if the hijab is something you choose yourself, it doesn't change the fact that the hijab is a discriminatory element put on you because you should be ashamed of showing your hair and your beauty. I was discussing with this Islamist very young boy, and he wanted to debate me, and he said the woman's beauty belongs in the bedroom for her husband.
Yeah.
No. You don't get to decide where somebody else shows skin or hair. This is the problem. And even if it's something you choose yourself, it is still discriminatory. It's only women who have to cover up themselves. It's not men. And it's it's the shame culture that is put upon women, and it's essentially it's slut shaming, religious slut shaming of women, saying you should cover up. And you were speaking about what is bad hijab. This is of course bad hijab because a lot of hair is showing, her neck is showing, her hands and some of her arms are showing. She's wearing makeup, she's wearing nail polish. All of this gets you lashes in Iran if you're caught by the morality police, at least lashes. If you, sometimes they say, okay, go buy some other clothes for her. They say that to her relatives. I've been taken by the morality police, and my relatives had to go buy some other clothes for me. And I said, and at that time I didn't wear makeup. Nothing was showing. I asked them why am I been taken, and they said you just don't, you just dress differently. I was a hippie, I was just dressing differently. This is enough. Just the fact that you might get some more attention because of your dressing, it's illegal. You need to look like a corpse going through the streets. Nobody has to look at you. And of course, people, young people, they want to look at each other, and it doesn't matter how dressed you are as a hijabi woman. Men will still look at you and try to figure out who's beautiful, who has the nicest body. So you don't kill people's natural attraction to one another. It's just such and their morality police is, you know, this has been going on for years, and since the revolution, really, and since Mahsa was killed, more than 100 people have been killed in the protests. And I think one of the very special things about this protest is that I don't think I'm not a historian, but when I think back in different times, I don't remember men fighting for women's freedom from oppression in the same numbers that we see in Iran these days, where men and women are, they're equally invested in this movement against the hijab, and also for freedom for women and men, for that sake. Because also the morality police also, it's mostly women who have, bad hijab, but men can have, why do you have longer hair? Why do you have, why have you styled your hair as a man? They would show in television, like, this style of hair is okay, this is Islamic, this style of hair is not Islamic. It could be short hair, but it's, different fashion, it's not allowed. So it's very, very stressful for me and for other Iranians, because we see what is going on, and we're very afraid that our loved ones and even ordinary people that we don't know are getting killed. And it's such a hard thing to watch people risk their lives. That's what they're doing every day. When they go to the streets, they're risking their lives. People are being shot at in the streets. They're being violently,
I have seen a lot of videos, and I get happy many times, because when I see that when morality police attacking some woman or man in protesters, then a lot of young men coming from all over the place and attacking the police, and this is a good thing. But like, am I optimistic? Actually, not so much. But I'm happy and optimistic about every time this protest happened, because it was before happened to, right, Black Friday or something like that. But every time when new protest starts, then it became more bigger and stronger, and this is a good thing. But Iran have really extremely control over people, and they built their regime, the Islamic regime, with using hijab, and this is a symbol of the Iranian Islamic State. On the other side, now we see like a lot of women cutting their hairs and burning their hijab to get freedom. And what we see in the West is opposite often. Here we see Western women taking hijab and in solidarity for Muslim people or Muslim women, but they do nothing when this is happening. And so I believe, we have to have debate about how hijab, what hijab have to do with the morality, right? Because many Western feminists, new feminists, maybe, I don't know, they say that hijab is a choice, like freedom, and
even they say
it's not sexism.
It's culture. They say it's just culture. You cannot really look at it from a freedom kind of perspective, because it's just something in their culture.
Yes, and when we say that hijab is sexism, like even if a child wearing hijab, this means is they look her like she's a woman, The
Yeah.
girl, the young girl is a
Yeah.
woman. Because why
Yeah.
these women get arrested in Iran by morality police, we have to
Yeah.
understand. Because morality police look them like a sex object.
Yeah.
If they not cover themselves properly, then they are like getting attention from men, and men get sin, right?
Mm.
Sinning.
Mm.
And so it is woman's responsibility to not make men sin.
Yeah.
There is not equality, there is not human rights, and there is sexism and there is discrimination, everything in the hijab. So
Yeah.
so how we come here, and in the West, like hijab became like a big promotion, like I see yesterday. I can maybe find the picture, when even they are searching for employer on state
Mm-hmm.
departments like UD or other private
Yeah.
companies. They are putting every time one hijab woman. Where is the Chinese woman? Where is the black woman? Where is the white woman? Where is the blonde woman? Yeah, I mean, this promotion have gone a long time, and without
Almost, yeah, almost
without
in every state owned, universities, different, sectors in the state and in the municipalities in Denmark, they always have in their campaigns and in their commercials, they always have a hijabi woman, as if this is a sign of us accepting, um, you know, other people who look different. No, no, no. This is accepting that women should be slut shamed in the name of their religion. This is what you're promoting.
yeah.
Also, in the, in Nike and Adidas and almost every, you
Yeah.
know,
Even criticizing stupidity of head covering hijab make you like hateful, and even you can be you can get prison, you can jail it in the West because of so-called hate crime. If you criticize or say even this hijab is very stupid and background of hijab is sexist and it is discriminatory, then even you can get prison in the West.
mm,
Why? If some people go with like trousers or like underwear on their head, I will look them like maybe psychological issues, or I can criticize, but it will not be hate crime, because you criticize something from something stupid. And it's not only it is discriminating and sexist, but it is also stupid in theologically from
yeah.
7th century Arabia. So okay, now maybe
Someone wrote in one comment, Alexandra Solheim, I think,
yeah,
wrote, "These women in Iran are helping us in Europe fight against the Islamic extremism." This is such a mind blowing thing, but it is true
yeah,
because just yesterday the Danish Parliament opened, and the Danish Prime Minister, she said, look at the women in Iran. They're fighting for their right to, lose the hijab. They're burning their hijab. And in Denmark, we're afraid of even discussing whether small children should have a hijab on in schools in Denmark. We don't
yeah.
even dare to discuss this. We are so afraid, she said. So this statement is actually true because
True. Yeah. and I,
it's mind blowing that
and
people in Iran should help
yes, yes. and
Europe against Islamism.
I will show some videos from schools, like teenagers, girls, how brave they are. They are taking out their hijab in front of morality police and in front of their teacher. you know
Mm,
Doing like burning a hijab or cutting hair in the West is not it's not very brave. The most brave thing what they are doing in Iran, and now actually in the decades actually in the West we should burn hijab without hesitating, but it's not
yeah,
happened even today.
yeah.
Those who in the West burning hijab, a few brave people like
Iranians in Denmark, yeah,
you, Mariam
yeah,
Namasi, some
yeah,
other like you can count them, like
yeah.
maybe 100, maybe
But in
200 in
every
all the West.
Iranian, almost in every Iranian demonstration here, we burn the hijab. So Iranians don't have a problem with this, and even my father has for years said, Jale, because you're very Islamophobic, he says, you're anti-Islam and so on. People from Iran cannot follow your criticism, but it's not true, because this time I went all out on my Islam criticism in the demonstrations, and people cheered. Even an ex-convert, a friend of mine, she came with the hijab on and took it off, and I thought, oh, this is also a little controversial. People loved it. Just, people are just Iranians because they know what oppression this hijab has done in Iran, and elsewhere. A lot of Iranians, even in Denmark, they tell me all the time, we're afraid of liking things, sharing things on Facebook. I live and work with Muslims. They're afraid, even in Denmark, because a doctor, one of my friends, she said, you know what, I cannot put my real name on Facebook, because when I write all of these things about Iran, my patients, they harass me at work. A doctor cannot say cannot be critical towards Islam in Denmark because her Muslim patients will harass her at work. It's crazy what is going on, even in the West. And this is also, of course, this is an ideology that is oppressive against women, and this ideology is upheld with threats of violence and violence.
At least we have a good step here. We see like one Swedish parliament cut her hair, because earlier we have seen a lot of Swedish politicians, when they visited Iran, they took hijab on, right?
Yeah.
And this
she looks Iranian. I haven't even I shared it myself, but I didn't really see her name, is if she has an Iranian background or not.
I don't know, but
no, it doesn't matter even.
Yeah,
but
and just people can understand what is really happening all these years. It's not 1 year; it is many 10 years, decades in Iran. This is what Iranian women experience living with. I don't care. I don't care if Facebook blocked this or whatever, but these things we have shown in many years to Westerners that wake up. There are millions of women living under mandatory hijab. Hijab is not free choice in Islam. Wherever you get an Islamic regime, it will be compulsory. And what's happening in the West, like the young girls, I'm talking about even 8 years old children going with hijab, and they cannot understand that this is compulsory hijab. It is
of
here.
Course it is.
It is here.
No little girl thinks, oh, now I want to be this religious saint that never will show any piece of my hair or my hands or my arms or my legs. No woman, no little girl thinks like that. They want to be a princess. They want to dress up. But even the princess dresses, they want to take off again. They're not going to be a princess forever. If there's no freedom of choice, even for girls, small girls in Iran, and also in some Muslim families in the West, and also the Islamic theology behind, because normally this religious police is led by women, because the men are not supposed to look at a woman or even look in her eyes or touch her. But if the woman resists being arrested by the morality police, the men in the cars step up and take her. And if you ask them what is the religious understanding of this, it's because then it's called jihad.
Yeah.
It's jihad. It's jihad. What we saw right before is jihad against women who don't wear their hijab right. So it is so crazy. It is such a crazy concept. And even if, just from a practical or pragmatic point of view, if Khamenei said tomorrow, I will say, I hear you, the compulsory hijab is off, he would stay in power for so much longer. But he cannot do that because, and this says so much about this ideology, because if he does that, the whole ideology crumbles, right?
You know, I believe when we saw this video, last video, what's happening, how morality police attacking women on the street because of their hair is the reason. So I think, you know, shame on all women especially in the West, who enjoy freedom and in the same time supporting uh, um, a tool of oppression, a hijab in the West. Uh, Really shame on them, and especially shame on all the Iranians
Yeah.
here in the
And
West,
even, yeah, and
enjoying
even,
freedom,
yeah,
even supporting Iranian regime.
yeah, yeah,
You know, some things have to happen, but
yeah.
and there I blame the left wings again, because these people uh, do everything they can to
It's
not
shameful.
not
Yeah,
focus. They are not defending women's freedom. If they did, how they can protect and promote a tool of oppression who oppress women daily at home, in the country like Iran, like Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia. So we need a hijab debate really, and we have to not be afraid of talk about this piece of clothes. You know, this is nothing. You can say, we need to even do like how like joke with it. And we have to don't think, okay, we will hurt some woman who use this for choice. I don't believe there is any choice. If there is a choice, why Muslim women in the West to go with hijab, not burning their hijab just in 1 hour, just for 1 hour, take off, do it something, and take
yeah.
on again.
And you
Because
know
there
what?
is a hypocrisy, because
Even when,
this is
yeah,
not a choice, this is
yeah,
sexism. You know, like the modesty of Muslim men and Muslim country and Muslim regime lies between the legs of woman,
yeah,
and the skin of woman, the hair of
yeah,
woman.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? Even this we've talked about it so many times. Social control, the social control that they call it, it's really most of the time it's just Islamic oppression of men and women, mostly women in Western countries. We call it social control, fine. If you look at the social control reports, they all hide the fact that Islam is the reason why these men and women are being, mostly women and even children, are being oppressed, hit, threatened to be killed, even in Denmark and Norway and other Western countries. And they have been killed. We've had so many honor killings, and even now we've had honor killings that we don't even talk about anymore because, oh, it's Islamophobia and we are afraid of Islamophobia. We don't talk about Iran, it's Islamophobia. Don't talk about honor killings, it's Islamophobia. Don't talk about social control being Islamic oppression, it's Islamophobia. Then I sometimes ask, the politicians and people working with social control, these young people who come to you and you interview them and you ask what is, when they tell you it's Islam, I cannot have a boyfriend because Islam, I cannot wear what I want because Islam, I cannot go to a party because Islam, I cannot go with my class on a field trip because Islam, all of these things, don't you think the victims of social control are Islamophobic? They're very Islamophobic. This small children who come to you and ask for help, they're such Islamophobes. Why should we help them?
Yeah.
Right? It's crazy not to be able to talk about these things. And even in Denmark now, with the protests that have been going on. A lot of venstreoriented, I was about to say,
Left wings.
left-wing people, even Iranians, they say it's not about hijab, it's not about Islam. They go on television saying these things, and I'm like, it's mind-blowing to say these things now. It's not about hijab.
Yeah, can you mention a little bit about, many our viewers doesn't know, I'm sure. You know what happened in Denmark 1 month ago almost? It was
Yeah.
like they want to stop child hijab at schools, right? Some
Yes.
politicians.
Yes.
And what happened?
There was a committee that had to, they were talking about mostly social control issues kind of thing, and then they had different suggestions to what we could do politically to, change these problems in Denmark. And then one of the suggestions from this commission was to ban child hijab inside of the first 9 grades in Denmark. And the next day, thousands of Muslims went on the street protesting this. It's a suggestion from a committee. And they say, we want freedom of choice. That's what they said. That's what the left-wing politicians who supported them said. When this thing in Iran happened, not one of the hijabis came and
where
said,
are they
I support
now?
the
Where
freedom
are they
of
solidarity
choice.
now, right?
Yeah, it's not about freedom of choice. It has never been about a freedom of choice when it comes to hijab. You can put it on and everyone in the Muslim community claps, but when you take it off, a lot of problems come with it. A lot of Islamists and people hangarounds with Islamist hangarounds, they harass you, threaten you, they make your life a living hell if you want to take it off. That is, even in their families, people have to move away from their families in Denmark, in Norway, in Western countries, to be able to take the hijab off. And some women, I have talked to a lot of Muslim women with the headscarf, with the hijab, who say to me, you know what, I have a lot of freedoms wearing this hijab. Meaning, if I have this hijab, my husband lets me go to work, my father lets me go to work, and I have some freedoms. They don't, look at what time I come back. I can go, do other things if I want. If I take it off, they will get suspicious. Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you hanging out with? This hijab gives me this freedom. So they wear it just to be free, to be able to go out of the door, because not wearing it, people will think you're a slut. What are you doing? Who are you hanging out with, and calling them and harassing them, their family, their own family members? So it is such a piece of oppression that we don't even, in the Western countries, normal people don't understand this. They think it's a fashion choice. Really, a lot of young people think it's a fashion choice. It's just their culture. They wear different clothes. They wear the hijab, and we should just leave them be. And this is a freedom of choice, but it's not. It's a mandatory. It's a mandatory hijab because God said so.
Yeah. And truth seeker Tai say this leftists pretend what happened in Iran has nothing to do with Islam. Yeah, they are trying every time. Yeah, but there cannot be any Islamic state which have the laws from the Quran and the traditions of Muhammad can have women without veil. Nowhere. If you have an Islamic state, women have to cover themselves, because woman is a like tool which man is own, and her body is man's honor.
Yeah.
And she is like a devil, can make man do sin.
Yeah.
Just if she show her hair, and this is the desert cult Islam comes from centuries Arabia, and this is the Islamic state. So it is everything with hijab is doing with Islam, has to do with Islam. Everything.
And we don't even need an Islamic country or Islamic State for the
Yeah.
hijab to be seen as a power tool. The hijab is a power tool of oppression of women, but it's also a power tool generally for Islamic power. Every time you see a country be the Islamists getting bigger and more powerful, you see more hijabs. Those things go hand in hand. It happens in Western countries, in Muslim countries, in Islamic states. The first power move of the Islamic Republic of Iran, it was the hijab. And millions of Iranian women protested that. The opposition and all of the intellectuals, they didn't see it as a big threat. They didn't see it as a big problem, and all of the other oppression and killing started after that. So every time you see a country get have problems with Islamist violence, threats, and power, you see the hijab, because it's a power move from the Islamists to oppress women and also to promote this dominant symbol of their religion.
Yeah. And we know how even in the West, Muslim women with hijab are afraid if she just take off her hijab just for solidarity for 1 hour, what she will have is what will happen
She'll
at
have to
home
answer for
when
that.
she go
Yeah,
home, just for one
yeah,
hour. And we know, I have been witness self, even so-called Turkey. It was a liberal, country in my childhood, and even then, I see a lot of girls when we reach the 9, 10 years, they are taken out of the school because they look them like a grown woman, because they are 9 years old. So she cannot go to school with short clothes, and without, because in this time in schools in Turkey, it's not allowed to have hijab. So families didn't send their daughters to school. I have seen many girls suddenly gone from the streets when we are playing on the streets, but because we reached 9, 10 years of age. So it is about sex. It is making even children like sex object. So here we will go through all the comments later, I believe. And by the way, Hassan couldn't be with us today, the Arabic translated memes,
yeah,
but
yeah,
he's
yeah.
following us. Hi, Hassan. Hi.
He's here.
Yeah, he because of his work he couldn't attend,
Okay.
but he's
Yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
hearing us. He's hearing us. So
Okay. You have to
re-
attend next time. We
yeah,
miss
and
you.
yeah, and what is happening in Iran right now? This is like just a bit of a big picture. What's happening globally in the every Muslim family. Because of hijab, really hijab, and the other side, hijab often used by Islamists like a victim card.
Yeah.
When they have no power, they victimize themselves, and they show, especially the women who are Islamists, go out and say, "Look at me! I cannot get work because of my hijab. I cannot be
Yeah.
police because of my." Yes, of course you cannot
Yeah,
be,
yeah.
because it's segregating us. We want
Yeah.
to be
It's
equal. You can
yeah,
have your
it's
hijab at home. You can have hijab
yeah.
in your free time, whatever you want. But in
Yeah.
a secular
But when
country,
you are a teacher or even a counselor or even a kindergarten teacher, it doesn't matter what position you have, a doctor, a nurse. It doesn't matter what position you have. It's like promoting something that is not for everyone. It's like me promoting my country, my political party, or my some sect that I'm a member of or something like that. We cannot have that in a secular and civilized country, where you go to the when you go to the state or the municipalities. It should be neutral places, neutral from politics, and neutral from religion. And this is why I don't think we can have, hijab in the public spaces anymore. And it's too bad that we couldn't, get Muslims to take it off without having laws against it. But I think laws against it is necessary, because
I believe Western, especially Western feminists, need to learn courage from these young girls. Here is this precious moment when teenage schoolgirls chant "Get Lost, Basiji." Basiji is a paramilitary organization run by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It is really brave. They are just teenagers.
It's just from 4 hours ago. I can see Mahsa Amini has shared it.
It gives
so
hope.
amazing.
It gives hope, but we know how it's dangerous, right? When you give the power to Islamists, and when even you let them create a regime, you let them create a country, then it is not easy to be free from them. It is not easy, and this gives me hope. But unfortunately, really,
it gives hope. And you know what? It's at the beginning of the end. It doesn't matter if it takes 1 year, 1 month, 1 day, or 10 years. It's the beginning of the end, because for every new generation that comes, they get further and further and further away from the Islamic revolution and from the Islamic mindset of the ideology. They don't support any of it anymore. The young generations, they don't want to have anything to do with it. And they just want normal lives. They just want to, go on the streets and talk to their boyfriends in peace without being, getting arrested. And sometimes the police tells them you have to get married. So they're just, it's just a dictatorship is normally very oppressive. But this kind of dictatorship, Islamic states, they're in your face at all times. They're in your intimate space. They're deciding what to wear, what not to wear, who to speak to, who to go on the streets with, everything. What you write on Facebook, what you share on TikTok. They have, you can get and this is also, it creates such a fear culture. So every mother is fearful for their son or daughter, no matter if they're, against the regime or not, because somebody could do something, see something, and then get them, prosecuted or even killed in the streets because they resist arrest or something like that, with Mahsa Amini, for instance. So everyone is so afraid of their loved ones being killed at all times, just for listening to a music, to a song that is not controlled, that is not legal. Songs have to be legal for you to listen to. The regime has legitimate music, and if you listen to foreign music, if you see foreign films, there are punishments for these things. So everyone is doing something illegal all the time, and everybody's afraid for their loved ones. People don't care. When I visited Iran until 2008, and every time I would go there, I would always drink every day. Every night I would drink. In normal life, I never drink, but because it was such, you had to show your resistance in some ways, and people are just so fed up with it, so it becomes like a sport. You have to resist this regime in some way or another.
Yeah. And whoever sees these videos, like let's say some people watching this and have no clue about Islam, how intolerant religion, how backward religion it is, will understand, will see this is a very stupid ideology. What kind of ideology it is?
Yeah.
And even we cannot talk about it. And if when we talk about it, you are Islamophobe, you are racist, you are far right. Enough is enough. And really, it's very important to have a big debate every day, if it's necessary, about hijab. We have to really help this woman, these all women in the West too. It's not only Iran. It is
Yeah.
all Muslim countries and in the West wherever Muslims living, and it's not
Yeah.
hateful to say. It is a
It's
really an
what is
ideology,
hateful is to
really
put
hateful. Yeah.
put a religious mandatory hijab on women. That's hateful. It's saying that you as a person, you're not the same being as me. I can go dress however I want, almost however I want, right? Because there is also from the knees to your stomach, it has to be not shown in Islamic in hijab for men, right? From your navel to your knees, you have to cover up. But that's nothing compared to the woman that has to be dressed from the top to her toe every day whenever she goes out, and she's even not really allowed to go out without her husband or father. And it
It is
just
it is the rule from
breaks.
Muhammad, of course. This is so I say it is about Islam. When we talk about hijab, we
It's
have to talk
only
about
about
Islam.
Islam.
Only about
It's
Islam.
only about Islam, and about Islam being a hateful religion towards women. Most of it's if you think, of course, the religion is a very oppressive religion against ex-Muslims, against any form of criticism, against homosexuals. But the women are 50% of every community, and the 50%, the way you look at those 50%, it's just all of the lack of rights that women have in Islam. And Western feminists still say it's not about Islam, don't criticize Islam. It's yeah, somebody said Stockholm syndrome. I
Mm.
don't know if it's Stockholm syndrome for Western feminists. I think it's this you know um, the racism of lower expectations is just their culture. They can't change. They don't understand civility and freedoms and equality. So let's just talk to them
I
in
don't
a
know, but
different way,
I
treat
think
them in a
I
different
think
way.
Stockholm syndrome is a nicer way to say stupid people, if you ask me, because they and either they don't know, they have no understanding and knowledge about this religion and its laws, or they are evil. So I don't believe they are evil. So
Yeah.
I think they are most stupid. Or yes, Stockholm syndrome is a good
But
description.
for
I think.
instance, for women in the Western countries wear the hijab and are afraid of even thinking of the possibility to take it off, because if you're married, you first have to talk with your husband and have his permission or understanding of the fact that you take it off. Then your father, then your brother, then your uncles. For some Muslim women, even in the Western countries, it's such a big thing that you don't even dare to think about the possibility to do it. So that's where the Stockholm syndrome really comes in. Your support, and sometimes these women go out and support it. I remember one spokesperson from the Iranian regime's mosque here in Denmark. She was like so cute. She had makeup on, and her hijab was not fully, she would get arrested if she was in Iran. But she was the spokesperson for the mosque, of the Iranian mosque in Denmark. After some years, I think she has taken the hijab off. But at that time, I would say, "What are you talking about? You're defending this." She would, invite people to have a party for Khomeini in the mosque and so on. I was like, "What are you doing? You're supporting this regime. You would get beaten in the streets if you wore these clothes. Even if you have the hijab on, you would get arrested by the morality police." And I think she was 100% a Stockholm syndrome kind of a girl, because she was not even just defending she was representing the Iranian regime almost in Denmark. It's crazy to see. To see the Western debate about this is
Yeah,
sometimes crazy.
it's gone far, it's gone far. Even like we in the West, we are talking about like Islam gives freedom to women. Islam, like Muhammad, is the champion of feminists, right? Even we come there, and how we come, it is really crazy. And then I say again, the regressive leftist, of course. But we have to start really, really talk about hijab, and write about hijab, because we say it many times, and this is the truth about hijab. Hijab means, I don't say every woman who wear hijab, who veil herself, I don't say that they say that I am better than you, but it represents like the hijab is saying that I am more modest than you. I am a good person according to my religion, and I will go to the paradise. But you are a whore. You will burn
Yeah,
in hell. And
yeah,
this concept is actually what Islamic veiling telling out, right? Because when these women we see right now, when they are getting arrested, what's happening to them? They beat them, and they sent to them, like this girl Mahsa Amini died. Like they have like course, like school police, like morality police course. They will teach them they have to how they have to go on the streets, how they have to use their hijab and don't get men's attention, don't make men sin, and like these stupid things they are doing. These like rehabilitation centers, right? Many hundreds of women
yes,
are going there all
yeah,
these years
yeah,
in Iran. So but the concept of hijab, everybody have to understand. This woman who cover herself represents the modest woman, and you as a woman without hijab, you are whore, you are sex
yeah.
slave, because this is the historical in Islam. When even the Caliph Omar, the companion of Prophet Muhammad and the second Caliph of Islamic state, in the first Islamic state, he beat it. He hit the slave girl who covered themselves. Do you know this?
No.
This is like according to our hadith tradition, and the biography of Muhammad, that he's not allow the caliph not allow the slave girl who to use hijab. They have to go naked,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I
so
knew
so
that.
so
Yeah,
so, so we so everybody can see
yeah, yeah,
she is a whore, she is a slave girl, and the woman who cover herself, she's a Muslim woman.
yeah,
And this is, it's in itself, it is a discriminatory, right? In the West,
yeah,
when we allow this, like on the special state departments
yeah,
in every secular country, it have to be free from religious symbols. But what they are doing right now, the hijabi woman can be even a judge in many countries.
yeah,
It will always cause problems in community, because of why I need to know
we are
which
just
religion.
a different. Freedom has nothing to do with the job, and you cannot come into the free countries and say, "Oh, everything is equal. The hijab and a neutral dressed person is the same." No, it's not the same. It's as if somebody wore some political statement to work. It's not the same. It's not neutrality. It's not being of service to the people when you're at work. You're showing your own religious faith in a very dominant way. And I don't want to come into my doctor's office as a young Muslim girl and say, I have sex, I want to have some protection, I
Yeah.
want some pills not for me not to get pregnant when I have sex with my boyfriend. I just don't want that in our societies. We want free societies. We want freedom, and the hijab has nothing to do with freedom. Even if you choose it yourself, a woman who chooses to stay in a violent marriage or a relationship is not free, is not abused. She's still abused. She chooses to be in an abusive relationship, but she's not free, and she's not, not being abused. She's still abused in this relationship. Freedom is not, just saying freedom to choose to be with a violent partner is the same as freedom to be in a loving and supportive relationship. It's not. It's two different things, and we have to understand that everything is not good. As just if we would just put free hijab, freedom of choice when it comes to hijab, or freedom of choice when it comes to violence in your relationship.
It has all time, it has always consequences. Even if not in this world, the consequences, you will go hell. So free choice means not that you can leave Islam. Yes, you have choice. You have choice to leave Islam, but then we will kill you. It is the same concept, like Islamists say, like Islamic countries, apostasy laws. Can we say that it is free choice to leave Islam? In one way, yes, I can leave Islam, but then what I will meet with, what will happen to me? The same. These women, the most of them, 99% of women, know the consequences in the 1,400 years. So we see also we have, of course, Stockholm syndrome too. We've seen many women who had female genital mutilation on them. Later, they are doing this to their daughters, right?
Yes.
I have seen even one interview I think in Mauritania, BBC interview with one woman. She said, "What's your problem? It's my children, and I do this, and I have been female genitally mutilated, and I'm happy with that." So, of course, in hijab cases too, we see this woman exist. It exists, but it will not stop us to criticize this, mock this. This is a stupid ideology which is really oppressing, especially women and men too, like you say, right? Because it's put men like one predator, like sexual
and
predator.
Also, we have this culture in Western countries that people are afraid of confrontation because they're used to, speaking about everything and, making agreements. And when, for instance, in the hospitals, when a woman who has been, has had FGM, I think it's called, right? The short term female genital mutilation, when she has had that done and she's giving birth, for instance, you have to cut her open all the way for the baby to come out. And then you have to sew the whole thing together. It's such a huge operation, and you cannot leave it open because everything has been cut up down there, right? And my friend who was working in a hospital with delivering babies, she would say people wouldn't, even in Denmark now, it's for years been illegal. Nobody would call the police because they don't want that confrontation. They don't want to be, have to call the police, and then they have to answer to her husband. Maybe later her brothers or family would come and threaten the hospital, employees there working. So everything is it's the same in schools when people with children abuse, even when children are abused, not even with the social control, even if they're just being hit at home. A lot of counselors and school teachers, they're afraid of the threats and the violence and the conflict with the parents and with the Muslim families. So they don't teach, even in schools it's the same, right? They don't teach in subjects that could cause problems. For instance, criticism of Islam, or is about homosexuality, about even evolution. They're afraid sometimes teaching evolution in schools if there are a lot of Muslim students. So this cannot go on, because if it keeps going the same way, we will have a totally changed society where freedoms that we know for centuries and people generations before you who are just born in this country, generations before you, for hundreds and hundreds of years, they have fought for the freedoms that we have today. And if you are an ethnic Dane or ethnic Norwegian, or an ethnic American or ethnic British person, you are so lucky you were born in this era and in this country, because you're free. I am so lucky because I had a possibility to come here and live in a free country. And you the same, Jamal. But freedom is not just a natural thing that everybody accepts and admires and gives on to the next generation. We have to understand this.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Iran, I think that generation by generation, people are getting smarter. They have the internet, as we have spoken about many times before. The internet is, people are so closed-minded before the internet, and even when the internet is there, when you're told you cannot question your religion, you cannot even you cannot even criticize or ask if everything single thing in the Quran is correct in the verses that are abrogated. If you're not free to ask any of these questions or question them, sometimes you don't dare to question them yourself as a Muslim in Iran or other countries. I've asked a lot of Iranians who come to Denmark and other countries in the Western countries, and I say, how did you become an ex-Muslim? What happened to you? Why weren't you an ex-Muslim in Iran? They will tell you, I just didn't ask the same questions. My mind was not free to ask the same questions. I was afraid of asking these questions, even to myself. So I think with the generations, the Islamic propaganda, and it's just not working anymore. And with the internet, they get so much information. It's so easy to get that information now.
Of course, impact of internet and information is huge, and it is even forcing like Saudi Arabia to make some reforms. And it's a good thing, but you know what, Jale, I'm sad because of why we need to have victims like Mahsa Amini? Why young girls have to die to change debate, or maybe wake some people here in the West to focus on all these women, millions of women suffering under compulsory hijab? And it is not about only just a piece of clothes, it is about freedom, her freedom. They are suffering because of they have no freedom, especially Muslim women. And what we're seeing in the West, it's focused on the Muslim woman with hijab is a victim. Yes, of course, if she's a victim, we have to defend her too. From all women, we have to defend against attacks, against if they lost their freedom.
Yeah.
But the real focus have to be on the woman who lives under compulsory hijab. And they are there, they are here, and this is a huge problem. So just forget some special people, some I see on the internet, on TV, in Norway, they are young girl with hijab being promoted by government, promoted by different organizations like biggest feminists. So I invite all those so-called hijabi feminists for solidarity to take off their hijab just for 1 minute and film it and share it.
Why aren't
and
they
show
supporting...
that this is a choice? This is
if it's a choice,
hypocrisy.
why aren't you supporting the Iranian women today? Why aren't the hijabis coming to demonstrations with Iranians saying, I want to keep my hijab, but I also fight for your right to take it off? Why isn't that happening?
And then they say,
a lot of people without hijab,
but then they say it's not my responsibility. Why I will do that? when is jihad happen in the name of your religion, and you are fighting in public to have more your religious rights, even in the state departments, and later in your religion, in the name of your religion, when attacks happen, people die on the streets, then even they say, why, I'm Muslim but I'm not the attacker, why I will do that? It is a hypocritical religion. and
Yeah.
and and they use all the time the victim mentality. They make
Yeah.
themselves victim, and
Yeah.
and we have a bunch of, or many actually,
Yeah.
so-called elites, and living in their like bubble in the
Yeah.
West, and they look Muslim people. If you say you are Muslim, for them you are a victim,
Yeah.
even if you are man or woman.
And also, please, I have to say this. It's very important. While all of this is going on, and the Iranian people, the majority of the Iranian people, there's no question about it. The majority of the Iranian people do not want this regime anymore. While all of these protests and the killings of protesters is going on, the Western countries are still negotiating with the Islamic Republic to lift sanctions against the regime, so they will get many billion of dollars if this deal with the nuclear deal with Iran, if it goes through, the sanctions will be lifted against Iran. And it's not sanctions against everything. It's against government officials, and some of the things that would be used for nuclear bomb. So even I think we should have more sanctions. Should sanction the Revolutionary Guard. We should sanction anybody who is working with the Islamic Republic inside the Western countries.
You
They
are
should be
right,
sanctioned.
Jali, you are right, but I think first they have to change their mentality in the West, with opinions and
But
with debates.
this
Sanctioning is a good thing, okay, but they did this
But
before
if
too.
they
But
lift the sanctions now, because the last time Obama lifted the sanctions, a lot of different organizations said $150 billion, $150 billion was given to the Iranian regime. The official government organization said no, it's not 150. It's probably more close to $60 billion, as if that's not a lot of money. Billions. They got the small amount was $60 billion was given because of the lifting of the sanctions. Other organizations said no, it's closer to 150 billions.
yes,
It
no,
doesn't matter if it's the one or
Jale,
the other. We
I'm
cannot do this.
Jale, I'm agree with you. Of course, I'm not supporting that. I'm supporting that every government should stop collaborating with any regimes. This is stupid in any way to have like to have them even in if UN Human Rights Council. It's so stupid. You have like Saudi Arabia like leader of the Human Rights Council in UN. Many things, but they're like
Yeah.
politicians. They are every time they are thinking their interests, and they give sanctions, taking out sanctions. But the most importantly, I believe they have to support this rebellion with with all media every time, and they have to have debates, and they have to really in public. They
Yeah.
like we see the Swedish MP who cut her hair.
Yeah.
They have to refuse to visit Iran or meet with any Iranian diplomat with hijab.
Yeah.
Like these
Yeah.
things, and they have to talk really
And they should also
loud about
expel
this.
they should also expel the Iranian embassies and say, as long as you're treating your people like this, we're not going to have any diplomacy with you at all. They're not doing that, even we're asking not to lift the sanctions. And even if you don't look at it from the Iranian perspective, just look at it from a Western perspective. Since the last maybe 4 or 5 years, the Islamic Republic has planned terrorism in European countries, in the United States, and it has been going on even not 5, maybe 10 years. In the last 10 years, they have planned terrorist activities. The plans were, it never went through. We don't know if the attack against Salman Rushdie was, planned from Iran, but the Iranian regime celebrated the attack against an author on American ground. In Denmark, the whole island of Sjælland was closed down because they were trying to kill someone here in Copenhagen, in Denmark, and a diplomat from Austria flew. He took the plane from Iran to Austria with a bomb and drove it to Belgium, and they was arrested then in Belgium because the bomb was about to go to France, and then they were going to. The plan was to bomb a conference in Paris. All of these things have been going on without any consequences for the Iranian regime. We have, the despise of human dignity and life has to have consequences. And even if you're not thinking about the Iranian people, think about your own countries and have respect for your own countries. The Iranian regime has been planning terrorist activities in Western countries, in the US, and this must stop. It has to have consequences. We cannot do a deal with Iran right now.
And besides that, they have to change their total mentality of how they treating this ideology.
Yeah.
Even not only hijab but everything. Really,
Yeah.
it is so crazy that think how they give more and more places, more ground to this ideology without any confrontation. And who does this confrontation? We and some others. And then they are looking us like we are arrogant, maybe we are haters. And this mentality has to change first.
Yeah.
Because we have internet, right? And these people also, Iran have restricting internet, but there is a lot of ways to get information. You can use VPN, and these people in Iran, these young people we have seen, they see the world, and they look to their regime, which their parents brought to country with a huge mistake, absolutely, because it was not only Muslims, but it was left wings, communists even brought Ayatollah Khomeini to power, right? So these people need support, yes, with sanctions against these countries, these regimes. But the most importantly, I believe, mentality changing and focusing on real victims of Islam and defending them.
Yeah. From your ears, from your mouth to to God's ears, yes. Or something like that.
It was a comment here.
I agree.
I will just show you. There, Meropa said, I have seen Muslim diaspora young people, both religious and atheists, lie so much about Islamic modesty. In their heads, they are defending their culture, but they are ruining all the discussion for everyone. And this is absolutely true.
It's true.
And this is what really we are experiencing in the West, in Norway. I'm seeing exactly that. And
a lot of time it's shared. There are two explanations for this. One, they're afraid of, if they tell the truth, they will get threats from Islamists. And two, they will be called racist, or they will promote racism. They think, oh, if I criticize Islam, then the racists will get more power or something like that. That's one explanation. The other is, of course, that they will get threats from Islam, because even for years amongst Iranians, it was like kind of a taboo to say it's what we're against. It's really Islamic theology, because this is Islamic theology as it's been presented by the Islamic Republic and all Islamic State in the Daesh and Saudi Arabia. All of the schools within Islam, the big schools, mostly all of them, they have this the same ideology, the same Sharia laws, the same crazy ideas. So when we would say that, they would say, yeah, of course, when you were in a closed room. Outside, they will never say the same thing, because either they're afraid of promoting an idea in the Western country that could lead to racism. That's what they would say normally. But I also think that them being afraid of Islamists, even they when they're living in the Western countries, that's a big part of it, because a lot of Iranians, even till this day, people are so afraid. When we make events in Facebook, right, for the demonstrations, it says 50 people will come. Thousands and thousands come to the demonstrations. They don't say on Facebook they're coming. They're not liking what we're writing. They're not liking the posts because they're afraid. Even they have fake names on Facebook because, as I said, they are afraid of, I have to work with Muslims every day. I live near Muslims. So they're afraid. They cannot say what they're really feeling. And of course, I will not make fun of that. People, if you're afraid, of course, I understand this, and this must be respected. I'm not going to force anyone to do something they're not comfortable with it if they're afraid of something. But then just don't go on TV and say it doesn't have to do with Islam because you're afraid of, confronting Islam or Islamists. Don't lie. At least don't lie. Don't go make a video and say this does not have to do with the hijab. What are you doing?
And this
At
is not
least be
Islam.
true.
This is not Islam.
At least if you're afraid of, standing up to Islamists, fine. Just don't talk. If you're gonna talk, say the truth.
Like you see, the demonstration against Salman Rushdie's book, The Satanic Verses. We have seen in many cities in the Europe, including Oslo, and I'm sure in Copenhagen too. Thousands of Muslim, especially men, on street and want to head off Salman Rushdie. And you see, the most of them are even not like practicing Islam, like 5 days praying or anything.
Yeah.
So, but they are defending Islam when it comes.
Yeah.
With all heart, all their heart, and this is hypocritical, I think. So just go.
Yeah.
Don't defend if you
and
don't know
I
anything.
even think sometimes when I see these young people who are not really, as you say, Islamic, they're not really praying, they're not living the religious lifestyle, and they're still defending Islam, I think that as a person, you from another culture, you need to find something to be proud of from your culture. And if you don't have anything good to be proud of, at least maybe we can be proud of the violence and the threats, because that's kind of the way they see respect, and they see, in Muslim culture, even in the way you bring up your children, a lot of times being afraid of someone, they think that's respecting them. As a parent, if your child is afraid of you, then it means that your child is respecting you. The same with the Islamists towards, with the threats and with the violence. And what Islamists don't understand is that being afraid of someone, it doesn't mean that somebody respects you. They're just afraid of you. It's two different things.
And the other thing, most Muslims are born in Muslim families, so they are Muslims, and they call themselves Muslim because of they want to belong in a group, like community. We are a Muslim. We are 1.8 billion Muslims. But it is time, I think, because there is 1,000 reasons to get shame of this religion. So they, if you don't practice this religion, why you're still there? Why you don't shame? You don't have shame. That's just shame you out of this religion. And this is what happened to me and to many people. But in any case, Jale, two things I want to do today. Many times we don't read every comments. We can just go through comments.
There are so many good comments today.
And one thing, if somebody want to call us, have question or want to just give a comment, 2 minutes, just send a message to our Facebook page. I will put on.
There are so many good comments.
And you can call us. I will send you a link, and then you can just join us. Wait a minute. You can send a message. 1 minute. I'm just posting on comments now. You can send message through from our Facebook page, Ex-Muslims of Norway, and I will see you, and I will send you a link if you want to join us. Okay. The first, just a second. I have to open the. Okay. Here we say ex Mohammed Sheikh from India. Go ahead, brother. I am with you. Love from India. Islamic ideology is totally anti-humanity, only slavery concept. Thank you, Mohammed.
We can't disagree.
No. And Alexandra Suleim, slut shaming. Right. Hijab is slut shaming, yes.
And also she writes another comment where she says abused women often
take she had very good comments. Yeah, I love it.
And abused women often take the opinion of their oppressors and blame other women for the same thing they were abused for. Yeah,
I will come there too. Dicky, keep it up, folks. You are making history. Thank you, Dicky. And Lisharm Surhandra, watching from Impal, I think India. Well done for standing up for Iranian women when no one else does, because they want to be politically correct. Violence against women must stop around the world. Totally agree. Totally agree, Pragya. Mollerup again. Your fight are for millions of voiceless women. Every decent human being are behind you, or should be. Alexandra, these women in Iran are helping us in Europe fight Islamic extremism. But it is frustrating with women wearing the hijab and other coverings in the West. Yes, this is very frustrating. This is the right word. I'm frustrated many times. Hijab is a farce and false safety. Based in misogyny and racist exclusionary symbol.
Yeah, I just want to say this is so true, because when I was younger and would visit Iran, I couldn't understand why everybody was so, everybody had sex on their mind, because they were so, they were so closed off in the schools. They didn't, boys and girls didn't go to the same schools. Everything was, illegal. If you were going to meet a boy randomly, it should be in the streets, So there was such a sexual vibe everywhere in Iran. And I have never been, touched in a, sexually harassed so much. Iran was the worst country. Egypt also, I was, Egypt I would say it's the same, but it's so gross that the culture that, is promoted in Islamic countries is really a culture of sexual harassment. Because when you, even, with the Catholic church, just look at how many abuse cases there are in Catholic church, because the priests cannot have normal sex lives. They cannot marry, they cannot, many of them are, oppressed, they have oppressed their sexuality because there may be homosexuals. Oppressing sexuality is always the way to ruin any society. And I just want to say, of course, it's false security for women. It's actually, it makes it much more dangerous for women to walk around in a country where there is hijab.
And this also hypocrisy in Islam, shows hypocrisy in Islam. But on the other hand, Islam is the most sexist and really a religion. Almost everything's about
everything
sex.
Is sex, yes.
And like always, I say skin and bone. Skin and bone and hair. Everything's about that. And the religion which promise you pussy in heaven. Then
pussy everywhere. The religion is like
not
pussy.
Not only, yes.
If you want pussy, be jihadist.
Yes,
you can be a jihadi, get pussy. You can marry
you
many
cannot
people
have,
and get pussy. Everything is pussy.
You cannot have sex with one you love without marriage. But you will. Okay, do you say, okay, I will follow this. I'm a true Muslim. What I get in heaven, pussy. This is everything about that. And the truth seeker says, if you criticize hijab, they will label you as Islamophobic. And this comment is not like far right comment, like we say. This is true.
Yeah.
I have been called Islamophobic when I criticize hijab.
Yeah.
And Hediye is hi Hediye. And I don't understand liberal in the West side with Islamists. And Ture Braut, Foreign Minister Anniken Huitfeldt betrayed women both in Iran and Afghanistan. This link, I don't know how it will open. Okay, look there. Yeah. And
it's about headscarves.
Show this video to people who say hijab empower women. Yes, this when morality police attack Iranian women. Protesta proved beyond any doubt that hijab isn't a choice, right?
Yeah.
Many Turkish Islamist refugees deceiving us. Hizmet BVG'sin. This is another topic. It's a Turkish sect. Now many refugees coming from this sect because Erdogan fighting against this sect. But this sect
is that the one who has
Gülen.
in the US?
Yes.
Yeah.
This evil barbaric regime has to. Okay, no if, ands, or buts. Okay. Alexandra, the argument that we have to respect religion must be dismantled and argued that we must support civil liberties like women's equal rights and gay rights. Religion's crucial human rights. Freedom from religion. Agree. I'm left, but refuse the other left destroy left values, feminism against hijab. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, of course,
when I say, I was leftist too, but I cannot find myself in the left wings today in the West. But I'm still leftist in many things.
But I'm such a moderate. If there wasn't this Islam and immigration thing in the West, I would probably vote somewhere in the middle. Sometimes on the right, sometimes on the left. I would be a very pragmatic middle kind of a person.
I don't care actually left and right. I don't care. But when I say leftist, I mean the regressive leftist who collaborates with the monks from 7th century's Arabia, like for defending this ideology and promoting this ideology and not seeing the real victims of this ideology. But on the other hand, when I say I'm leftist, my leftism is like those old leftists who were against religions because they see these religions man-made. And they say that these religions have to be a private case for individuals.
And also, if you look at the Western history,
state,
and if you look at the political Western history, the leftists were always for homosexual rights, for sexual rights, for sexual freedoms, for the personal freedoms to dress like you want to, have sex with who you want to. All of these things were Western leftists were promoting these things. I also think we have to. I mean, I am married. I've been married for many years. I also think the marriage as an institution is a very good institution, and I support marriage. It's not like no marriage is there. You have to be. There are good arguments on both sides on how to live your life, and this is why I think being a moderate and being in the middle is a thing that I would go to if it wasn't for immigration and Islam, because when you talk together and you have different points of views and you discuss everything, you come to some agreement in the middle. It's almost every time the best solution for things. But the way politics used to work in the Western countries, in Denmark, it was like we will discuss this and we will meet on the middle and make an agreement or find a solution of different kinds of problems. But everything is so polarized now in the West as well because of Islam and also because of the queer theories and with the woke mob that is taking over politics in the West. And I used to be a proud feminist. I cannot even say that anymore because feminism has been this crazy thing now in the West where you talk about genders don't exist and let's talk about how many women are in boards now, in in companies boards, let's have quotas for how many women are in the boards. Are you crazy? Is this feminism? At the same time, people are being abused because of hijab and normal freedoms, but you never talk about those things.
I agree. And just before we stop talking about right left wings, I just want to say that my friend Walid said all the time that Islamo leftists, when he called these leftists, he said Islamo leftist, but it's not easy to use Islamo leftist because people doesn't understand often. But he described it like Islam. Who are these Islamo leftists? They are those who get tears in their eyes with emotions when they look at a girl with hijab.
Yeah. And
Actually,
even
there is like these
Alexandra,
people.
yeah,
There is like this.
Alexandra writes progressive left are anti-hijab. It's true, but even the people on the left who are very, they know hijab is not freedom and so on. They're so afraid of saying it. So most of the time they just don't say it.
Yes, they are these leftists
Because they're
pretend.
afraid of being called racist, right?
Yeah. And also we are talking about, yes, like Truth Seekers Tai says, these leftists pretend what happened in Iran has nothing to do with Islam.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
they
they are
say
right.
it. They say it all the time. Even Iranians in Denmark have gone on television and said this. It's mind blowing. It's shameful. You should be so ashamed of yourself that you are a free woman without any headscarf. You go on TV and say that what is going on in Iran has nothing to do with Islam. You should tell the truth. If you're speaking about what's going in Islam, if you're trying to defend the women who are going on the streets, risking their lives, and the women and the men, there you should not lie about what is going on and what they're protesting. They're protesting the entirety of the regime in Iran, and the entirety of the regime in Iran is only Islam. It's everything they do is based on Islamic laws, on Sharia law.
What does the Quran and Hadith says about hijab? We have mentioned this before. Simply, it says women have to obey their husband and cover herself, don't go out of house, and have to accept that her husband can have sex slaves and more wives. It is actually taking
And
woman's
women from the age
identity
of 9. Yeah,
identity
from the
from
age
her,
of 9, yeah.
either with hijab or burqa, the same. It is about that woman as owned by men, first by father and later by husband. If she have no husband, even her boys owning the mother.
Yeah,
So woman just a tool,
yeah.
sex tool, and they have to protect, and to protect they have to cover themselves. So in Islam, in different directions, some says you have to have, when you go out, you have to have the burqa totally covering, that you will be recognized as a Muslim woman, but you will not be recognized as a Persian. And the other side, they say one eye can show you. Some says two eye, some says only face can and hands can be free from covering. In any case, it is about that woman's body have to be covered, because
Yeah.
men can get sexual
And when we say women,
thinking about
it's
them.
from the age of 9. I mean,
Yes,
it's from the age of 9. You are a woman in Islam, and you have to cover yourself, and you have to be, really, you have most of the time, you have to be hidden away. Even if you
because
cannot
it's
come
about
out of the
sex,
house,
right?
it's the
It is
best.
about sex. Your beauty,
Yeah.
you have to not show. Other men have to not see your beauty.
Yeah.
You are owned by me. It is
And
that.
also, there is something that is also very important to know. There is no consent, of sexual relations. The woman has, as you say, the men own her. So if you're married with a husband, your husband decides to have sex with you. It's not rape if he has sex with you and he forces you to have sex, because you don't you don't consent in Islam. You're never to say no to having sex with your husband. And even the sex slaves, of course, there are no consent there because it's slaves, right? So the fact that a woman has never the choice to say no or to decide who she wants to have sex with, it's a normal thing within Islam.
Muhammad says even if men want to have sex with
When they're praying, right?
his woman on a camel.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
riding, if she have to not refuse, and if they
Yeah.
refuse, angels are cursing them all night. The woman.
And of course, if she's being raped, there's nothing called rape because it's your husband. You cannot be raped by your husband. And also, I think I've heard this, that if she's praying to Allah and then he wants to have sex, she should cut her prayers and come have sex with him. Right? There is no excuse.
Islam is everything's about sex, skin, bone, hair, and it's a stupid ideology. Just go away from Islam. Be long from. Alexandra says schools refuse to confront neo-Nazi children in schools. How are they going to confront hijab without strengthening teachers' rights and support in schools and even protection? Examples: French teacher killed and a Norwegian teacher who lost in court search. This is critical. Yes, and this is really difficult. And I believe we have to not let teachers alone be that be with that to confront.
It's a huge problem.
It have to come from the government. They have. We have to not accept child hijab first of all in the schools. When it's the law there, then teachers don't need to confront anyone, right? Because they are afraid. To be a teacher in the West today is difficult, really difficult, because they are afraid to be called Islamophobe, racist. They're have to respect.
Afraid. Look at what happened to Samuel Paty.
Yes.
I mean, they're afraid of just any criticism of Islam.
To help teachers, we have to make laws, like says, for example, we have to have freedom of speech in the classroom, lesson, and we have to show Muhammad caricatures. What's happened to Charlie Hebdo? What's happened to the teacher? Like these things. If you put these things in order in the procedure, like you have in school, you have to learn it. And then you taking responsibility from the teacher, because you cannot put teachers' life in danger.
Yeah.
I understand these teachers, of course.
Yeah.
Hijab does not cover just the woman's hair, but covers woman's brain. Yeah, it is about taking her identity.
It's actually telling a human being who has a vagina, and saying you're not a real human being because you have a vagina. That is what hijab is. Because you're saying you have to cover up yourself. You don't have the same rights as men because you're not equal to me. You're not as much. You're not. Actually, also in Islam, they believe that women are not that smart. So this is one of the reasons they have to cover up. It's because they're not that smart. That's why they're when they're witnessing in courts, it's half of the men. When they're inheriting money, it's half of what her brother is inheriting. All of these things, and also if you're a lesbian, even because homosexuality is illegal in Islam, but if you're a lesbian, you will have 3 times you will be warned. And then you will have to be executed, because women are stupid. They're sexual stupid people, so they have to be covered up and put away as much as possible.
I smiled because
freedom.
I read the Meropa, the comment of Meropa. Many Muslims doesn't know, and this is the problem. I invite Muslims to read their religious laws, why these laws, how these laws come, what is the background of these laws, because it is funny. It shows how stupid this religion is, and it's not divine, nothing divine there. Like you say, Umar asked Muhammad for a call from God for covering women, and the order come after some time, lol. It is true. I wrote an article many years ago about the Muslim women that I said next time if somebody asks you why you cover yourself, tell them because Umar wanted that.
Yes.
It is nothing with Allah or something. Umar, the companion of Muhammad, the second caliph, he harassed the wife of Muhammad when they go to the toilet outside. Harassed them, and then and asked Muhammad to bring some divine verses about the covering. And Muhammad first didn't want to do that. And he continued with that, with harassing women in the night and following them when they go to the toilet and said, "Hey, I see you." Like it's that stupid religion. And in the end, Muhammad have to bring some verses, the covering verses.
Muhammad was the feminist. He was just pressured.
Yeah, he liked naked woman, I think. But in any case, Umar says that three things what he wanted, Allah was angry with him, so it come. Verses come after. It is about three things in jihad too, actually.
Yeah. You know what? I saw a documentary about a very specific sect within Judaism
They covered them.
who are very they were very fundamentalist, right?
Yeah.
They escaped from the United States because they were being prosecuted for child abuse and stuff like that. So they moved to a South American someplace there, right? And the documentary showed the women almost wearing burqas. All of the women were. It's this is a sect in Judaism. So all of these
It is
religions,
religion. Stupidity is amazing, Jale. It is religion. If it's not Islam, other religions. There are bad ideas. We made it, and but it's not holy. It's not divine. Stupid ideas, and we have to criticize them. But mostly we see what Islam doing, and Jewish people, of course, the same. Many things in Judaism, actually, Islam copied from
yeah, it's
Judaism.
plagiarism.
Yeah,
Islam is mostly plagiarism.
Moet USA, yeah, the guy who we had call from him in the last
Yeah.
conversation.
I
Yes,
remember.
once time regime falls, Iran would accelerate into progress in short time. Right. I hope. Hediye.
She just likes.
Greetings from Kaduna, Nigeria. Yes, Isakai. I'm at work. Yes, Hassan at work. Send us love, guys.
We send love back. I'm so happy that that Hassan has joined our conversations. I want you back.
I think according to the Islamic sources, women are supposed to cover all of their body, including the face. Do you agree, or what do you think? Yeah, like I said, when they go out, they have to cover themselves totally. They say in Islam that because to be recognized as a Muslim, oh yeah, we see like one woman covering herself, we don't recognize who is she person, but we recognize that this is a Muslim woman. This is the reason that Umar didn't like if some slave girl covered themselves and hit them, beat them, and said you will not, because people have to see that you are sex slave, you are whore. But like again, I say about face and hands, there is two different opinion in Islam. Some theologians means that Muhammad said, no, Aisha said that Muhammad said you have to cover yourself. Only this and this you don't need to cover. And what he meant with that says face and hands. This is a hadith we have. The hijab is a symbol of oppression, not freedom. Exactly. Hijab is the symbol of political aspects of Islamic ideology, right? I think it is written as head in general. Obviously, it mixed with the need for desert people to cover their face from sun during the trips into the deserts, but inside the city, it doesn't make sense. Yes. Yeah, it's some tribes in some places in Africa and Arabia still men using hijab,
Yeah.
and their hijab because of the sandstorm. There is some
Yeah, yeah.
connection, of course. Um, Families in the West often pressure wives and daughters to wear the hijab with threats of violence. Exactly,
Yes, and this has
and
been
this is
documented.
and
I
this have
mean,
been ignored, and they are
and
still
even though
ignoring
it's
the fact
documented,
today.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand both you. All opinion in the last minute. Meropa, okay. Long live our prince. We get rid of mullahs and send them to hell where they belong to. Yeah, she's Iranian woman. I know her.
Yeah.
Um,
And you know what? There was this killing some time ago in Denmark where I don't remember. I think it was an Iraqi woman. I don't remember. Don't don't say I said for sure. She was a Muslim woman from a Muslim country,
yeah,
and she wanted a divorce from her husband. And her husband kept on saying, "If you want a divorce, I have to give you back to your family, a male guardian in your family."
yeah,
And she wouldn't, go back with him to where she was from originally. And then he killed her,
yeah.
right? And there was no, and even this whole story was told, but still the media were not talking and the politicians were not talking about this being an honor killing, right?
There is thousands of honor
So
killing
many
cases
stories, yeah,
because
yeah.
of that they were not modest enough. This means they went out maybe with jeans, or they didn't have their hijab on. They saw
Or
them in
they
the
wanted a
city.
divorce,
Yes,
right?
and this too.
Yeah,
It is reported, and it is in reports every year, everywhere.
yeah.
Um, no, what was it? You're right. A woman has to cover her whole body. She's only allowed to uncover one eye. Yeah, some opinion one eye, some opinion two eye uncover, and some opinion face uncover. Um, Look what happened with Furman. They destroyed his life for saying that Islamist is he was ostracized. The irrationality of mob is incredible. So how do you fight against the fear of discussion and debate? We have to just continue. We have to never give up. And you have to never give up. We have to do our contribution. Hediye long live our Pahlavi. We get rid of mullahs. I hope. Iranian young ladies constantly proving themselves more powerful than the regime with all its resources. Hats off to this fine young woman. Yeah, I agree. Uh, yes, it is Stockholm syndrome. Is people who live in the cave of shadows. Plato's story. Muslim woman also bully. Hmm. Yeah, there is some. Uh, okay. Hijab is always obligatory in Islam. This is the truth, and this have to be uh, instead of saying that Islam is not this, accept this and talk about this and wake people, right? So people can see what is the you cannot what they are doing in the West, especially they are just saying that like they are protecting Islam when we see many hundreds jihadi attacks in the name of Islam. They say Islam is peace. Islam have nothing to. This will never help.
Yes, yes.
The same about hijab. We see some young, especially hijabi girls in West say it is free choice in Islam. It's not obligatory, and like some things. And debate is closed. It will not help.
Yeah, and
We
I
have to
think
talk about, and
also
it is
I think
obligatory.
it's
What we
it's
can do.
something emotional, something even psychological about this, when a lot of Muslims in the West are so protective against about Islam, right? Did you see this video? I think it was in the UK. Mariam Namazi was having this.
Yeah,
Did you see this video? Mariam Namazi and other Iranians, they were having this demonstration, and they were, I don't know if they were mocking Allahu Akbar or something like that, and there are these young people. One of them, a young Muslim woman without the hijab, she was showing cleavage and her stomach was out, and she was like, Allahu Akbar. It was so funny to see, because they have something psychologically. They have to, they have to support their culture. They have to defend their culture, even if they know this is not good. We don't really like this. We have so many problems within our religion and culture. It's a pride thing. It's like, oh, my pride, my identity is going to go away if I don't defend this religion.
I agree.
You have to understand. You have to understand your culture is so much more. And when you look back at it, all of the good things in your culture is because of other things. All of the bad things in your cultures because of Islam.
Yeah.
You have to see it for that. And your culture should not be Islam, because Islam has so many bad ideas. And if you want to, I know it's somewhat of a theoretic conversation, because we haven't seen reformed Islam. But if you want to be a believer and have a God or whatever, you at least need to have a different theology to present to the world. If you want to be a Muslim, right? If you want to save your religion, then save your religion. Don't defend it as it is today.
Yeah, and Islam is the most arrogant and totalitarian religion, and they have to understand, especially these so-called moderate Muslims. I don't know how they can call themselves even Muslims. When you say go without hijab, have short or I don't know what, problem is that they don't know Islam destroyed every culture where they come. Like Iranians look like Arab today, right? Even the language became almost Arab.
Not almost, Arab. But there are a lot of Arab words.
Look at the Turkish people. This, Kurdish people or Indian people. When Islam come, it destroys every other cultures and everything, because Islam is so arrogant that says the only thing truth, the brotherhood, you have to become a Muslim like an identity, like a nationality, like a culture, like everything. This is really a dangerous ideology, and these people who defend, they are just ignorant, even not practicing. So we have to criticize, we have to mock this religion too, to shame them out of this cult. Really, I believe this is the only solution.
Just join the conversation with us. Let's talk about it. And they're not even able to join the conversation, because they don't have any really arguments for Islam. I am so happy to have you and Hassan to talk about these things with. You lift my spirit every time. I have winter depression.
The same. Actually, you are doing the same to me, and maybe to Hassan too. I don't know, but to me,
it's therapy.
Thank you for that. Let's go fast. I have seen Muslim diaspora young people. This we have read it.
I have also. Really I have to go in not that long, because I have a meeting about a demonstration we're doing on Sunday. So a little commercial for that demonstration. We're doing a demonstration. We're having a demonstration on in front of the city council in Denmark, Rådhuspladsen, Sunday. 4 o'clock. Come, we have politicians there. We have people from the cultural world in Denmark. We have Iranians. We have Danish people, feminists, old school feminists coming and supporting us and speaking at this demonstration Sunday, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, in front of the city council in Copenhagen.
Ola said they should allow this woman to dress modestly without hijab. I mean, what is modest? What is to
modestly?
Be modest? Why?
Why are we so afraid of the women? women's bodies.
Yeah, what does
Why
it
are we so
mean modest?
afraid?
Yes. Like if you see a half naked or fully naked woman, you have to be modest, not she.
Yeah, yeah.
Or what does it mean with
And if
modest?
you look at
I
it,
don't,
scientifically, the societies where you can undress as much as you want to are so safe for women, right? In Western countries, women are so much more safe than
yeah.
Islamic countries and other countries with religious, oppression of women, and yeah,
There are
and it
a
go.
lot of videos out there in YouTube that you see how women in burqa sexually harassed by
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of
mobs
course.
in
Yeah, of
Egypt,
course.
in
Yeah, of
Arabia,
course.
everywhere, in Pakistan.
Yes.
Mob has to be mobber. Young Europeans are raised by media to hate themselves. It's automatically in their
We have
heads
so
that
many
if they
good
say
comments
something,
this
yeah,
time. I'm so
they're
happy about
racist.
it.
I agree, Miropa. Just go faster.
And there are
Okay,
also
Facebook can
some
read,
spam.
but yeah, we have seen. As I always say, Islam is the cancer of humanity. I agree. I agree, and I want to
Yeah.
say that. You know,
Yeah.
Christopher Hitchens says religion's poison everything. Religion, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, it's like same. Cemal Kinson Yüce, do you want to challenge Turkish Islam's organization Hizmet Bölgesi'nin? I can challenge every time, anytime. But next will be Saudi Arabia.
Maybe we
Uh,
should talk about Turkey some other time.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Many women running away from their Islamic miserable countries come to Europe, and the first they do is looking for halal shops and cover their head more tight. They did in their country of origin.
And this is, of course, why we
Unfortunately,
should.
it is true.
This is, of course, why we should, cancel immigration. No, we should restrict immigration as much
Yeah,
as possible
it
as
have
it
to
is
have
now. Yeah.
qualification. This is very
Yeah.
important, I think, in immigration cases.
Yeah.
Oops. Okay, correction. Tweet and Instagram. There is I have to. Okay, teaching children bravery and empathy to concerned and stupid influencer with lip fillers, etc. Especially lives. Okay. No to any ideology which disempowers women. Agree.
Of course. No.
Maria Bilardi. I don't understand. Okay. In Iran, women are being tortured and killed to get rid of hijab, but here in Europe, Muslim women wear more hijab and defending the hijab to death. Shame on them.
Yeah.
I have met many Iranian people in my country. They are some of the nicest people I have ever met, and none of them were wearing hijabs. I hope Iran will become a free democratic country soon. Yes, because
Yeah.
they left this crazy regime, Islamic regime. But unfortunately, we see also Iranian, with origin, they are from Iranian and with hijab and defending.
Yeah.
So one our
They're
politicians,
not
Mahmoud
defending
Kahraman,
hopefully
he's
they're not defending the regime, but they're talking about the problems as if it didn't have to do with Islam or hijab. That's disgraceful. It's so shameful. You should be ashamed of
if a
yourselves.
person run from an Islamic state and became a like the Islamic State supporter, I mean that they have to thrown back to their country. If you ask me,
There should be so many laws in Western countries that make it impossible for Islamists to live in Western countries. This is, of course, one of the things that I support, and banning the hijab in workplaces is one of the ways to do it.
yeah. Muslim women in Europe are enjoying freedom and secular rules that defend their rights, but these women consider hijab as a sign of freedom. Shame on them.
I want to read
Üç.
them all, Jamal, but
Yeah.
I have to go
Okay.
now because,
Okay. Then
yeah,
sorry, and thank you very much, Jale, and
you
thank you
are
everyone
so
for your
great, all of
contribution.
you. And yeah, thank you, Jamal,
See you
so much for
later
your
on next
time.
episode of Let's Talk About It. Bye bye. Thank you.
We love you.
Bye bye.